Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get started today then. I just want to welcome everyone to the peer group. Basically, what we're going to be doing in today's session is going over all the basics for peer groups. We'll have some of the facilitators, we'll have some peer group members speak, and you can kind of learn a little bit more about the program and see if it's a good fit for you. So we'll start out. We'll hear from Neil. Let me just slide my screen down here. Neil is our president and CEO, and take it away, Neil.
Well, Becky, thank you so much for having me join. This is one of the more exciting things that we do at CFMA. We build community with construction financial professionals. It's probably one of the few places in the world where construction and accounting come together as a community where we focus on education. But the peer groups are really a notch above, and no small feat, by the way, in terms of Becky and Laura and the team organizing it. But we've got some great facilitators that you'll hear from today from Forvis Mazars and Crow. And you'll hear from, some of the people that have experienced the benefits of the peer group. For us, it's a way for you to be able to share best practices, to have individuals that are like-minded, not necessarily from a competitive perspective, but very similar profiles of businesses to be able to share, insight and strategy and best practice on things that you may be dealing with as a professional. So we are looking as we look towards the future for peer groups of creating, further improvements to the experience, not only in terms of how we form those groups, but in terms of how we work with the facilitators to really get leverage the most out of those groups. So I thank you for taking the time out of your busy days for joining and learning more about it. I want to thank the team for organizing this, and I want to thank our facilitators. I mean, without those partners, we couldn't do what we do. So really, Becky, back to you. I just wanted to say hello and thank you, and I look forward to the presentation.
Thanks, Neil. So we'll go ahead and get started then. In addition to Neil, here's the rest of the team. I'm here. You can find our contact information up on the CFMA website. So anytime you have any questions, concerns, feel free to shoot us an email, give us a call. Myself and Laura and Lauren are always here supporting the peer group program. There's a little more information about the peer groups too, a little more detailed information. You can also get information as far as fees and more detailed information up on the CFMA website. And again, feel free to contact us anytime. So what the program is, it's open to general members of CFMA. It's a peer-to-peer program. So who you're going to be matched in peer groups with is people that are in similar sized companies. You have some options as far as you can be in groups with similar types of companies, or you can be in mixed groups if you want a little bit more well-rounded experience and see what other industries are doing. So some of the groups have a monthly conference call. Some of the groups meet every other month. Some only meet once every 6 months. They might have just an in-person meeting. So at your discretion, you can choose. So you have an option. You can either be in a group that meets one time per year in person or two in-person meetings. And what the in-person meetings are, the group will decide amongst themselves a location and they'll actually go on site and be together in person for about a day and a half with your facilitator. And it's really a really focused, there's an agenda that's sent out ahead of time. There's lots of information. And it's really a good experience for the members to go and sort of form lasting friendships, really, and really get to know your fellow peer group members. So that's how we base the two membership types. Peer groups have about 10 members. We do the best that we can to try to keep without getting too big or too small. We try to match as well as we can so that everyone has a good experience. Um, how they're chosen. We have some criteria that we used, basically revenue size, type of contractors. We have a ton of other questions that we try to gather information in the application process that we use to try to help match you as well. A very important part of the program is we pick peer group members for each of the groups that are non-competing companies so that you're comfortable to share your data, your information with the other members of your groups. So it's very important when we're matching to go through and take a look at the other companies that you'll be in a group with, make sure that there's no one that's, a subcontractor or somebody that you're going to go for jobs against. You don't want to be in a group with people that you may be competing with because you most likely will be sharing confidential information and we want you to be comfortable. These are the costs for the in-person, the options I mentioned a few minutes ago. So you have the option either a one in-person meeting or a two in-person meeting. And that's the yearly fee for each of those. It's $9.50 for one and $12.30 for a two in-person peer group meeting. So what that fee is, a one-time fee that we charge upfront in the application process. That is for the entire year. So the program will start April 1st. That fee will cover until the program ends next March 31st of 2026. So it's an entire year, but it's based on CFMA's fiscal year, which starts in April and runs through March. If you change employers at some point during the year, your membership belongs to you. So you can stay in the peer group as long as there's no conflicts, your employer is okay with it. Just let us know when your contact info is changed and we can help you out with that. Just some of the things that the fees cover. This is more specific really to peer groups. The actual experience, agenda development, video conferencing, meeting facilitation, support, program monitoring, feedback. Something you do want to know, the cost of the hotels, meeting space, meals, travel for your in-person meetings, whether you have one or two, that is actually covered by the participants themselves. That is not included in the peer group fee. Just some things to expect. The groups will meet fairly early on in the program and decide how often they'll hold calls. The facilitators will, speak with you and select the dates, the times that work best for the majority of the members in the group. You'll also determine amongst yourselves where the location and in-person meetings will be held. As far as time commitment, the monthly conference calls typically only last about an hour. The in-person meetings are 1.5 to 2 days per year. So it's not a huge time commitment. The agendas will be developed by your facilitators with input from the members. So it's really you get out of it what you put into it. So it's really, you can make it as much, the more you can participate, the better, obviously, the experience is. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk to some of the facilitators now. We have two professional companies that do our facilitation, Forvis Mazars and also Crow. Dan is one of our longer term facilitators. He manages quite a few groups for us here. And Samantha is from Crow. And she's been with us for a couple years now too. So Dan, if you want to go ahead and start and just kind of give us a little bit about your peer groups.
Sure. Thanks, Rebecca. I've been involved with the CFMA peer groups for I think maybe 6 or 7 years now. It is, I think, the best thing CFMA does. I get a lot out of it myself, and I know my peer group members do. It's just a great opportunity to, get input from others kind of in your same shoes. I say sometimes it's almost like group therapy. No one knows the answer, or no one can figure out some issue, but at least everyone's struggling with it and you're all in it together. But it's really neat to see some of the groups once they come together. I think that first in-person meeting is really important because you can all get to meet each other in person, and then that helps the discussions flow after that. My peer groups are emailing each other probably at least once a week on some different topic outside of what we're talking about on that monthly call or in-person meeting. And it's really neat to see that connectivity between the group members and just, having another resource to help you tackle some of the issues or, challenges that you're encountering in your career.
Great. Thanks so much, Dan. Samantha, would you like to speak for a couple of minutes about your experience?
Yeah, so Samantha Burkott, I'm a senior tax manager with Crow, as stated. This is my 4th year, I believe, as a peer group facilitator, and similar to Dan's experience, we have a great group. We have a lot of rollover members that have been with me since for 4 years, which I think is a great compliment to myself as a facilitator, but also to our other peer members that help bring good material and discussions, and they're also emailing, maybe not every other week or so, but at least once a month we see an email string go along on software issue, just any kind of changes that they might be experiencing. And I think next one of my peer group members, Jared, is going to actually speak so he can tell me if I'm a liar. But no, I think our group is really fantastic. It's always nice if you come with some, like talking points, right? So we kind of send out an agenda, try to get it out a week in advance. Sometimes we pick our meeting topic out for the next month at our last month, so they already know what the topic's going to be. And then I pull an agenda together. I give some general talking points. And then I always ask for feedback from our peer group, right? Because the whole point is to be of value to the peer group members and not so much of myself. So then we'll get feedback, we'll incorporate it into our agenda. And then I just like it when members all come and they have, a few talking points or a few experiences that they can share, because what usually happens then is it triggers a thought of another peer group member, and then they have something else to talk about, or then they have a point they want to bring up. And then additionally, this year, we've kind of tried to ask our peer group members to kind of come with like a one-hitter, something that they've ran into within the last week or two, or a current trend that maybe we're not so aware of. And then that way they can bring it up at the end if we've got a few minutes, just to kind of keep, as close to the full hour as possible. This month, we're doing something a little different. We all decided to read a book. Or listen to a book versus on Audible. So we did Atomic Habits, and we're going to have our peer group meeting this afternoon, and we're going to go over that book and just some good discussion points. And so I'm really looking forward to that. It's different. We've not done it before, but we're always just trying to bring in new ideas that are just going to be of help to the whole peer group. So I've really enjoyed it.
That sounds great. Thanks, Samantha.
Yep.
That's a nice segue into, we actually have a couple of our peer group members who have been in peer groups that can talk for a couple of minutes and share their experiences. Jared, I guess if you want to go ahead and go first.
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity, and I can confirm that Samantha is only partially a liar, not a complete liar. And I joke. She's done a fantastic job. So a little bit about my peer group story. I'm wrapping up my 3rd year in a peer group. And that time I've been a part of 2 different kinds of peer groups. The first 2 years I spent with very like-sized general contractors. We're a small to medium-sized general contractor, and was in a group of other like-sized general contractors. For this new year, I requested a change to get into a group with subcontractors and general contractors, and a little bit larger than we currently are. So I've had kind of the opportunity to see 2 different kinds of peer groups. Both have been well worth the time and have been a big benefit to me. in that time, interestingly, as the Dan and Samantha were talking, I was like, I've also had the opportunity to have both a Forvis facilitator and a Crow, and they've both been fantastic. So the level of facilitation and the ability to kind of keep the thoughts active and to keep the conversation going, they've done a really good job the whole time. The in-person meetings are highly valuable, getting to put faces with names and just really actually extend the relationships that you're building. And then everything that everybody's already said has been my experience, right? The benefit of building some relationships, having a sounding board, learning from other people's challenges and experience, getting to float current situations and topics amongst a group of people. All those things have been exactly what the peer groups have been for me. So it's I guess if I would sum up in one word, the highest value or what the most valuable thing I've gotten out of my time in peer groups is just the perspective, right? Whether it's what other people have experienced or what they can share with me about what I'm experiencing. It's just always really good perspective.
Great, thanks, Jared.
Of course.
Jeremy, are you with us?
Yep. Hi, I'm Jeremy Barnes from ARCO. So I'm finishing up my 3rd year in the general contractor peer group with Dan as our facilitator. So I always tell people it's not just for this group, but the peer group really is the most valuable development or training experience I get each year. So that's a very valued resource for me and really just gives you exposure to a wide range of topics. You might hear something from another member of the group and not think it applies to you short term, but down the line, things change quickly in our industry and gives you a contact you can reach out to, get more information later. Maybe it's worth doing a deep dive as a group on a monthly basis, and then the in-person meetings are very valuable too. When we were in Chicago a couple of years ago, the group broke off, went to a Cubs game for baseball. So allows you to get interactions with people on a more personal level, not just in a work setting. So definitely would recommend if you're borderline or maybe thinking about joining a peer group.
Great. Thanks so much to both of you. It's really great to have the perspective of an actual member of the peer group to speak about how valuable it's been to them. So thank you both for that. I know we kind of zipped through the PowerPoint pretty quickly. I just wanted to mention we have all of this information and much more detailed, as well as the application is up under the resources tab. If you go to CFMA's website, cfma.org. The application is open now. We just opened it this week. So it's basically an application where you click on the link, you go in. I don't know if you're familiar with SurveyMonkey, you probably have used it before. So all of your demographic and contact info will be collecting in there, and that's what we'll use to match you into a group. The application will be open until the end of February. So you have until February 28th. The application probably will take you about 10-15 minutes to fill out. It's not too lengthy. And I think that's all that we have so far. We're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free. Sounds like we have no
Got
questions.
a question. I'm just.
Oh, sorry.
I have a
Go ahead.
question.
Sure.
Maybe for Jeremy or Jared, who are the members. What would be one thing that you guys would like to see different from the membership that you guys aren't seeing right now?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of a good answer. I don't know that I have one off the top of my head.
Yeah. I think sometimes attendance within the group can be a bit of a challenge, but as long as you make a commitment to block off the time to make the monthly meetings and maybe catch someone one-on-one to share experiences outside of the group, I think that's really how you maximize your benefit and your time well spent.
Got it. Appreciate it.
I have a question. So, and you may have said this and I missed it, but as far as when you're putting together the peer groups, do you also do it by geographic location for those in-person meetings?
So do you want me to jump in here, Becky, on the in-person?
That would probably be helpful, Dan, to, I guess, to pick the locations is what you're referring to, Dawn.
Yeah, just if you, so I'm in Oregon. So would you keep me in a peer group on the West Coast?
Oh,
So-
okay. I see what you're saying. So as far as placing you into a peer group, we try to not put you with any competing companies. So you most likely will be in a group with people all over the US. So
Okay.
your location's really not a factor. It's more based on the company size, your revenue, the type of industry that you're in. Sometimes we use your, accounting software. Really depends on how granular we have the information that we have to place you and where we have openings. We currently have 34 peer groups, and we have just about 350 members. So depending on where we have openings this year, that's kind of what we'll look at to place you, mostly your company's demographic information. It's really not based on your location.
Okay. Thank you.
And one of the questions we ask also is what states your company does business in. And that's a very important question when you're going through the application. You really want to put which state your company does any sort of work in, because that's an important piece of the matching too, to make sure that we don't put competitors within groups.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Dan, I'm
Becky,
sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna tell, was it Dawn that, when the group kind of comes to a consensus on the location and the timing of the in-person meeting, so it's really up to the group as far as where those get held.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And
Dawn,
just to
that's
build-
also the same for the virtual calls too. The group decides on the best time and day for those, so that attendance can be maximized. So your time zone differences will be taken into consideration when planning, so you won't get a call at an unreasonable hour.
Okay. That's okay. I never sleep.
Becky, we have a question in the chat from Garrett Parks. If we're new to peer groups, are we put in a newly formed peer group and an already established peer group?
That's a good question too. So at this point, we don't have any newly established peer groups. We probably won't for the upcoming year. So you'll be placed into one of the existing 34 peer groups.
Yep. So we want to keep the peer groups on an average of 10 participants in a group. Anything like below that makes it hard if there's something that comes up with attendance and someone can't make it. And we try not to do it in more than 12. So that's kind of like the rough size of the peer groups that we like to do. So we will fill people in where others might have dropped off this year that they can't attend. But then if there were, depending on how many people sign up for it, if there's more participants than we have already established peer groups, then yes, we would establish new peer groups.
Just a quick comment there. In joining two different kinds of groups, I've also had a group that we were all, I think every one of us was brand new to peer groups in the first go round. And then now that I've joined Samantha's group, it was a pretty mature and already formed group. And I can just say in both cases, the experience was great. Different benefits from the two different kinds of groups. But having been through both sides, I think there was value in both brand new group and an existing one.
Great.
Becky, sorry, we have another question. This one from Michelle Gregg. Are the peer groups allowed to continue to meet outside of CFMA? The fee seems a bit high for networking. Is there a breakdown on this cost?
Sure. So basically the cost for the peer group program is to cover the cost of your facilitators. We have professional facilitators that run each of these calls, whether it be an in-person meeting or a conference call. There's also agenda preparation, and they put together all of the materials for the calls and the meetings. As far as meeting outside, that's really up to the group. I know we do have some groups that try to get together for drinks and an informal gathering after the CFMA conference when everyone's already going to be together. Logistically, it might be a little difficult for you to meet in person more than, you know, the normal in-person meetings, just because you're going to be scattered probably around the US. So that's really up to the members' discretion.
Yeah. I would just add to that, Michelle, so it's not prohibited. You absolutely can. So the the fees for the group is to really run the facilitated sessions, but if you have you're building these relationships with your peer group members, by all means, have one-on-one conversations with them, get together with them one-on-one, get together with them as a group. That's your network that you're building. So you absolutely can.
Lauren, Becky, if I could also add to that, you know, at CFMA, you can network in lots of different ways, including at your local chapter. This is about more than networking, though, right? With the professional facilitation, the notion that you are going to be bringing things to the table that you want to work on in your day job, you know, whether it's cash management things that you're looking at, whether it's doing benchmarker analysis, whether it's HR, IT, risk management type topics. This is about gaining expertise from your peers and having professionals from Forvis and Crow help facilitate and tease out those discussions. I think that in and of itself is really the intent of the peer group and where the real value is. Clearly, the networking is a nice byproduct, and you build relationships with that group, but that happens in lots of different ways at CFMA. The peer groups are really for helping you do better things, greater things within your own professional profile. So, sorry, I couldn't help myself.
That was great. Thank you, Neil.
Any other questions? Well, like we mentioned before, my contact info is up on the website. Feel free to contact me if you can think of anything. We're going to record this session, so if there's anything you wanted to get more info you've forgotten, if you'd like to share it with a coworker or a friend, we'd love to see that. So we'll be sending that around to everyone. You can also go to the website, look for more information, share the web page, share the application, or just reach out to us at any time. So I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you all get involved in the program this year.